Performance, performance, performance is the issue of today. And as you have heard a lot about how things have changed and will change and what this means for you, I can tell you that these changes affect also policymakers. And therefore, it might be interesting to learn how we see these changes affecting us and what are the consequences, the potential consequences for you out of that changes. Well, a famous scientist once asked a rhetorical question, who will survive? And his answer was, it's not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but those most responsive to change. Charles Darwin, we are celebrating his 200th anniversary this year, made this remark, and his theory of evolution is surely proof that how one responds to change is the ultimate performance criterion. It dictates whether a species survives, and this theory can be applied to companies and industries too, as an American pioneer of just-in-time manufacturing once formulated. It's not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. That's why I would like to talk, therefore, about change. And I will have no slides because I have simply 3 issues to tackle. And I'm afraid you have all seen too many slides this morning. So I will speak first how the European vision of media is evolving in this changing context. Secondly, I would like to stress some concerns, some new concerns policymakers have against this background. And thirdly, I would like to address specifically an issue related to public sector information. Well, European media policy is derived from a fundamental right, freedom of expression, as formulated in Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights. And from this right flows the concepts such as freedom of speech, press, media pluralism, support for creative content, promotion of cultural diversity, etc., etc. And we have seen in the past that newspapers, magazines, books, films, TV programs are all based on this fundamental right and its expression into reality. But where do directories come into the picture? Well, like databases, directories can't be classed as creative content. They are content of a certain kind and even benefit from protection under intellectual property law. The database directive is intended to protect the investments that you make in assembling databases with quality information. And as you know better than I, directories are becoming far more than just telephone lists or yellow pages. They're becoming online local search tools used by citizens in their daily life. But we do not consider search engines to be media as such, but they are an essential navigational aid for finding creative content and almost anything one needs in life. Today, people first want to search and consume content of all types, anytime and any place, anywhere. And secondly, interactivity is the new media paradigm. Citizens of today are even making their own content, some of it of high quality, by the way, and Donald gave some good examples this morning. Even as it enhances freedom of expression, this new interactive paradigm poses threats to another fundamental right, the right to privacy. Article 10 of the Human Convention of Human Rights. In operational terms, as practically no one wants to pay for content currently, so we offer consciously or not, mostly not, our personal data in exchange as a form of payment, sometimes with knowledge of the way it will be used, but mostly not. A whole segment of Web 2.0 is devoted completely to people publishing and exchanging their personal data. Think of Facebook and other social networking sites. Our personal data is extremely valuable to media companies and other companies, particularly advertisers using the web. Even when it's highly aggregated, the insights that our personal data provide are an essential feature of Web 2.0 business. Traditional media such as newspapers and magazines are also very much interested in the clickstream information from their online readership. And as directories move further into search, so they must face up the same issues of data protection than audiovisual and print media just have to face today. In my view, the major challenge for our European media vision, therefore, is how to reconcile these two fundamental rights, increasingly at odds with each other. The more citizens exercise their right to freedom of expression, the more they search, the higher the risk to their privacy. Also, it might take years of work to resolve this, and I strongly believe that data protection will be one of the hot topics in the next Commission hearings. It is a problem alongside copyright. You might be aware that only last week, Director General of Justice, Liberty and Security has held a big stakeholder conference in Brussels in order to relaunch the debate on the main data protection directive, generally to be considered ripe for revision. Meanwhile, closer to me personally, data protection issues have sharply risen in the interest of the European Parliament during the final stages of the negotiations on the electronic communications directive, the famous telecom package. And it was interesting for me to state that it haven't been the, if I may say so, usual suspects, some Greens and some Liberals. No. Also the Conservatives, for example, got interested in the subject, and you saw how many learned what a cookie is at this moment. And you saw the reactions, what does this mean? Well, in principle, the directive on privacy and electronic communications only apply in telecommunications services, and they apply only to telecommunication service providers. But Article 5 has a much wider relevance, since it sets out the rules applying to various techniques used to track and trace users' behavior online, including adverse spyware and the use of cookies. In the Commission's opinion, the text of